It is 6:08 now on daybreak. Time for a look at today's What to Do calendar.
That's right. Thousands of volunteers will honor the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King with community service. The MLK Day of Service kicks off at 9 at Durham Memorial AME Zion on East Eagle Street in Buffalo. There will be a service featuring artists' works of change through the civil rights movement. Then volunteers will head out to several sites to help. It will be a day on, not a day off. The effort ends at 2 at the church where volunteers can donate blood.
Certainly a great tribute
Good cause there.
And again, the nation paused today to remember the birth of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The civil rights leader, who would have been 80 years old this year, helped call attention to the nation's civil rights struggle. Dr. King was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee, April 4th, 1968, by James Earl Ray. His actual birthday is January 15th. However, the federal holiday to honor him is observed on the third Monday of January. And across the country and in Western New York, there were various Service Day events to remember Dr. King. Members of AmeriCorps and the group Hands on Greater Buffalo are two of the local groups who were involved today. They met this morning for a ceremony before traveling to their volunteer locations to spend today helping others.
Joel Brown, CBS News, Washington.
Western New Yorkers are also honoring the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. today. News 4's Al Vaughters is live at one local event. Al?
Well, Victoria, it's still a good 24 hours before Barack Obama is sworn in as our 44th president, but already he's setting a national agenda. He's calling on this to be a national day of service, and these volunteers at the Azarice Matters Recreation Center are one of several events being held across Western New York. Organizers here are calling it a day on, not a day off, to pay tribute to the civil rights leader and humanitarian honored on this national holiday. Hundreds of volunteers and community leaders gathered at the Durham Memorial AME Zion Church to kick off today's events. Fresh off the presentations and a brief service, these helpers then fanned out across Western New York to help their neighbors.
I'm amazed at how much service is a great equalizer. I think with tomorrow as the first African-American president being inaugurated, you can see the people are working together of every race and creed.
And believe it or not, after they finish all of this hard work all over Western New York, they're then going to reassemble back at the church to give blood. Reporting live from North Buffalo, Al Vaughters, News 4 at noon.
Well, that's very good. Very good civic service. Thank you very much, Al. And
these volunteers are turning a national holiday into a day of service. I'm Al Vaughters, and I'll have that story.
Well, school children have today off, but many were still hard at work here in Buffalo celebrating Dr. King's life by creating a colorful canvas of civil rights milestones. News 4's Al Vaughters shows us a storybook of change.
Martin Luther King Day is a national holiday, but for hundreds of young folks across Western New York, it was a day on, not a day off.
You could be home in bed this morning, right? But here you are in AmeriCorps and the young people of Buffalo.
These young volunteers started their day at Durham Memorial Church to celebrate Dr. King's work and recognize Western New York's role in leading the fight for equality, as portrayed by these paintings, a storybook of change.
The Colored Musicians Club in Buffalo was started in 1917 when African American musicians were denied membership in the whites-only local chapter of the American Federation of Musicians.
They also learned of an event forever linking the civil rights leader to Buffalo just before his assassination.
Just a year earlier, King had come to Kleinhans Music Hall, sponsored by the Graduate Student Association at the University of Buffalo.
Then the volunteers fanned out across Western New York to help their neighbors. These volunteers pitched in to spruce up Azarice Matters Youth Center, helping the center fulfill its mission to the community.
They're painting, and some of them are sanding down tables, and there's another group doing a community survey. They're walking around, finding out how this center might meet their needs.
And Josh's mom and aunt even gave up their holiday to ensure success.
It was a service day, and that's what he's about, and this is what he's worked so hard to do, so I thought, how could I not support him?
Dr. King was born on January 15th and would have celebrated his 80th birthday last Thursday. While President Ronald Reagan signed the holiday into law in 1983, it would take years for all 50 states to adopt the observance, the third Monday in January, as a paid holiday.
Al Waters, News 4 at 6.
How did you spend MLK Day today? Well, many in our community did what the great civil rights leader had always preached. They served others.
And they did it at a huge event put on by Western New York AmeriCorps as a way to honor the life and legacy of Dr. King.
For the hundreds of volunteers who came out today, Martin Luther King Jr. Day was not a holiday.
We want to make this a day on, not a day off.
They are gathered here before being dispersed to many different sites throughout Buffalo to serve their community.
Could be home in bed this morning, right? But here you are in AmeriCorps and the young people of Buffalo. You are absolutely the best. Let's hear it for you.
These volunteers heading to community centers, the International Institute to help in organizing projects, some going to help Cradle Beach get ready for campers.
That's really what Dr. King wanted on his day. He didn't want big sales or car sales or anything like that. He wanted people to serve, so that's what it's all about.
This day of service was organized by Western New York AmeriCorps, a group that serves the community year-round.
We can't look to our government to do everything for us. I mean, I understand that AmeriCorps is a government program, but it takes grassroots effort. It takes people in the community to go out there and want to serve.
It brought out those who have served before and others like this social studies teacher who tells her students about civic responsibility.
I felt that it was important that I actually walk the walk and not just talk the talk.
And it was a time to remember civil rights history, locally and nationally.
The basement of the church was the original home of the North Star, an abolitionist weekly paper founded and edited by famed abolitionist and human rights advocate Frederick Douglass.
And documenting those events through art, creating what they call a storybook of change. It's a transformational day that's sure to have a lasting impact.
You get to know your neighbors, you get to know people that have same ideas as yourself, and, you know, we create a better world that way.
About 600 volunteers took part in today's event, but thousands of Western New Yorkers will serve with Western New York AmeriCorps during the month of January in honor of Dr. King. Keith.
Still to come on Eyewitness News tonight, the trip of a lifetime underway.